What's going on, Clarissa? Got some notes. Got some notes. It's going to be quiet for a couple minutes. Let people get on here. Welcome. Thank you. Hang out for a little bit. What's up, Abby? Going to give it a couple minutes. Let some people get on. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being quick. Oh, you like that? Yeah, I think I got this little mom and pop shop known as Walmart. Amazingly, the coffee tastes the same no matter where you get the mug. So, TJ, hopefully the wife jumps on here so she can blow my picture up. Even though I got glasses on, I can barely see myself. But maybe that's not a bad thing. For those that are just tuning on, some of you may know me a little bit better than others. I don't rehearse nothing. I don't write nothing. These are just some notes. This is even rare for me to do. Nobody can even read that, right? I probably won't even hardly look at them. I do write questions out though for guests of that are on the spot, giving their live testimonies. I'm going to be talking about that and explaining why it's just me tonight. As thoroughly, but as quickly as I can. I'm not in the business of scheduling these on the spots. If I get a cancellation, I'll share my feelings on that here in a minute. But as far as not having any kind of live whatsoever, I refuse to do that. I'm not going to do that anymore. At least I can get on here and share my thoughts and my time with you for a little while. It might help somebody, if you're that bored or that desperate. But usually, 10 times out of 9, sup, Suze? God will come in at a certain point and remove me from myself and get out and get through what he wants said and heard. And that's always cool with me. I just got to show up so he can show out, right? So even if I get a cancellation, and there'll probably be more as the days and weeks, months, and years go by, I gotta jump on here and give my time. It's something that I've been called to do. I'm committed to doing it, and just because somebody cancels for whatever reason doesn't mean that I get the night off. I don't think it works like that. So at least I'll get to come on here, share some stuff with you guys. Maybe have some pop-up guests. There's an invite that I could send out for anybody who might want to come up and share a little bit, or join in on a conversation or whatnot. It can be done. Just let me know in the comments, and we'll get the invite to you. And if you would, please share this out. Give it another minute. I guess I could wait till 10 after, like I do the meetings, huh? Powerful meeting last night. Did a Discovery Fellowship meeting on gratitude. Our sister Kristen Gray shared for us. Great topic, great Bible verses, great discussion. Just an outpouring of truth and emotions and compassion, and it's just something to be a part of. I don't know how else to describe it. For those who don't come to the meetings, you're missing a lot. If I could be casually frank with you, you got to come in there and experience it for yourself. Thanks, Abby. Give it one more minute and I'll open her up. Oh, Facebook. I guess nobody likes me on YouTube. Oh boy. Am I gonna talk about all this stuff? Yada yada yada. That's what I got. So have me cross out whatever as I go. That's how I talk to God sometimes. don't be alarmed. I'm not crazy in the traditional sense anyway. Yeah. That's gotta get on stage right there because that's truth. Every word of that. Absolutely true. You ought to, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, you ought to go to the GBR page. That's God-based recovery, by the way. Go to the feature. Go to the guides section. It's got all the previous on the spots on there. There's a few that's in the feature section I haven't put over there yet, but you ought to check out Abigail Crandell's on the spot. Did about a couple months ago. The highest viewed on the spot yet. Not monetized, not bought and paid for, boosted, just Facebook and YouTube. It was an incredible one. So I recommend going and checking that out, and check out any that's on there. They're all good. Is Deb on here? There she is. I was like, can you make me bigger? Anyway, what up, Strav? Solo, just me. Let me pray in. Pray in, guys. Get your heart on anything you're grateful for, anything you're struggling with, anything you're convicted to work towards to eliminate from your life. For those that love you and that you love, and just being here. Father God, I thank you for this time. Thank you for having me here. Lord, you get all the glory. Every time I speak, I try to give you all the glory, all the praise. Thank you for the people that's going to be checking this out tonight. Lord, please make it as good as you want it to be. Decrease me and increase you throughout this broadcast. I'm sure you know every word that I'm going to be speaking, and I ask you to take over and speak through me as you normally do. I do have the right intentions. I care, but when you got my words, it's always a better result. Be with everybody that's listening right now, tuning in. Not sure what they're about to receive, but be with them in their lives, their situations. Lord, protect their friends and family, their households. Keep protecting, providing, and prospering them, Lord. Keep leading them to you as the days are growing shorter. Your son is all we should really be focused on and concerned with. We know by doing that everything else that you've given us on earth will be taken care of. And we just thank you for that. We thank you for that. We thank you for the blessings and the storms, Lord, equally. Thank you for having us all here. Thank you for gathering us together. Thank you for all the incredible work you are doing all over the world. It's very easy to focus on and advertise hate, pain, destruction, terror, ugliness. Seems to sell. Seems to grab the eye, grab the attention of the next sinful person, right? Because we have that nature. And but you're doing an incredible work, and there's so much beauty and just goodness that you are accomplishing and displaying through your sons and daughters all over this world, in this country, Lord. There's always an equal balance to it all, and a rhyme and reason and a purpose for everything. Thank you for having us here tonight. Have your way in this live, this meeting, this gathering, this fellowship time that you've allowed me to have with these wonderful brothers and sisters, your sons and daughters, Lord. And as always, thank you for everything that you have done in my life, do on a daily basis, and will continue to do as I grow in living word and learn what it is to be obedient to you a little bit more by the day. Thank you for meeting me where I'm at every day. And thank you especially for leading me along the way. I say this prayer humbly and boldly in your holy son, Jesus' name. Amen. Man, long prayer. Innate tendencies. Yeah, we'll get the there's the invite. Let me start a little bit because I got a lot to say. I'll get you up in a second. Let me do this announcement. So kind of got it out of the way earlier. This is on the spot night. Everybody, it's Sunday. Well, what else are you doing on Sunday, 6 o'clock Central, besides tuning in to this? Normally, on Sundays, it's not about me at all. I'm the face next to another face on the screen and humbly listening to somebody's testimony unfold. Somebody I barely know, somebody that it's my brother, though, or my sister, right? So their story has to impact my life somehow. It has to be relatable. And this has been one of my callings that God has called me to do. It doesn't seem like the biggest deal in the world, I guess. People talk to people all the time. But it's something that I truly enjoy, and I find that I'm decent at, if that's okay to say, because I care and I give a darn, and I don't do it for any monetary gain. And I always get something out of it. It always helps me. So in a way, they are selfish, but in a very good way. Tonight, though, didn't happen. Not exactly sure why. Had everything lined up with the guest, James Guthrie, and about 3 o'clock, seen his Facebook Messenger is gone. Can't find him on Facebook. Now, a year ago, ironically, I had him scheduled to be on the spot, and he disappeared, went ghost. This time I had his phone number. Learn, right? So I texted him, called him up. I'm like, what's going on, man? Like, you doing this? I already knew his Facebook was gone, because that's what that usually means. So people do that. It's like, yeah, they locked me out. Goes against community standards. I'm like, hardly ever see you post anything, but okay. You did it to me once before. All right. That could be, whatever. But I was like, well, I mean, your testimony still is your testimony, just because you're locked out of Facebook. I mean, still your testimony, might really impact and help somebody, and I asked like 3 times over the next couple hours, do you want to do it? Do you want to do it in spite of that? And never got any response, unfortunately. And I'm pretty sure it was set to be a really decent one. Or some of his stories, I always get a little bit of a background, right, from everybody, so I could write up that description for the OTS event post. Had some questions written out. He told me how he was looking to do it, and it was going to be a good story. And we should be well on our way right now, but it's not to be. So, and I spent about a half an hour kind of being upset about that because, and I mean, I'll make this full circle too, so don't think I'm just going to complain one-sidedly here, but it's just like, things happen. Life, life does life stuff, right? Things happen. This was no reason, though, I thought, to like cancel it. So I kind of griped a little bit. It wasn't terrible, but it frustrates me because I put, what's up, Freddie? Love you too, brother. Another fantastic on the spot guest in the guides section at the top of the GBR page. Wonderful. It's also on the YouTube. it kind of upset me a little bit. And I mean, I've got my feelings for a second, and I'm human, right? I get to feel that. Don't ever try to deny how you're feeling. Okay. We have to learn how to feel what we feel, but just take it to God, complain to God, nag to God, really, right? He'll set you straight. He already knows how you're feeling. So don't try to deny how you're feeling, but learn how to do it as respectfully, maturely as you can. Express yourself, right? So, I got to thinking that, I put time into this stuff, guys. This is nothing about look what I'm doing. And it's not about none of that, but it's about commitment on both sides. One, I'm going to come through. I'm going to do my part. I'm going to fulfill my calling for that Sunday, for that day. You're just sit down and interview this person. They're going to share their testimony. Here's some questions. I'll give you some questions along the way. It's going to be for somebody. It's going to help somebody you may not even know exists, neither you or your guest. That's how it's not the modern day gospel. It's part of the good news, right? Because without the good news, without the gospel, what testimonies would we really have, right? Without suffering, there'd be no salvation. So I think it's absolutely mandatory. I believe it to my core. Okay. If you've had that God moment, Christ is dwelling within you, you're doing everything you can to not do acts and works to prove that, but it's inner works, right? Faith without anything working on the inside, changing heart posture, heart turning from stone to flesh, then that faith ain't working right. Your faith determines your inner works. Faith without the inner workings, without the insides changing, that can be detrimental, and it may not be as real as you think it is. That's what has to happen. So when you share your testimony with somebody else, not about who God is, they can read about that for themselves, the scripture, but what he's done for you in your life, where he's pulled you from, where you took him, right? How many times he saved your butt, everything that he's brought back into your life, all the bridges that he rebuilt that you burned on a regular basis. It's his testimony. It ain't yours. It's not mine. Our stories of how we lived and how he saved us is all his glory. Our stories are told so he gets the glory. So it's not even really accurate when I say my testimony or your testimony. It's really God's. Because he's been there from the time you were born all the way through. God allows some bad things to happen now and then because he's setting something up even better or turning bad to good down the road somewhere, okay? And I know that's hard to understand or believe or trust until you come to Christ and then you get into the scripture. Keep your eyes on Jesus. It's in scripture. That's what that literally means for me. So it's a big deal when somebody goes to share their testimony. I get psyched for it. I'm pumped. I'm excited. This is awesome. This is a big moment. God's got these two people here ready to, fellowship together and share this testimony. So, it's a bummer, and I think to myself, cancellations happen. I get it. Life does life stuff. But for me personally, and here's where I always give you guys the truth, how I feel and where I'm at. I never took a day off in my addiction. I never canceled anything. Responsibilities, I canceled. If I was sick, I didn't take a day off from being an addict. If the weather was bad, found a way. If I was broke, I found a way. So that's just me. That's just my thoughts now. I'm like, well, now we're here to share this testimony when we both should be 6 feet underground. And you got a real reason to not want to do this? Things come up. I totally get that. I'm not arguing against that. But sometimes, some of the reasons I get just are hard to accept. Okay? That's just me. Ultimately, it's okay though, and because over the top of all this thinking, who cares what I really think, right? It doesn't matter what I think or what I feel. It's about what God wants to do and what He can do. So just because there's cancellations or delays doesn't mean He's not setting something up even better down the line or preventing something. That's stuff that I can't comprehend. That's why I stand under God, because He understands me. But if I kept all that in here, it might mess up some stuff down the line. So you have to get that junk out of there. I'm not condoning or validating or justifying anything that I'm feeling about that, but those were the honest feelings that I had for these cancellations. I had one 2 weeks ago from somebody I love near and dear, sister of ours, and I get the situation and know very well what the reason was, but it doesn't mean that I have to lie and say that I accept the reason wholeheartedly. Sometimes I feel like if you can breathe, then you can give your testimony. That's just how I feel. I'm not going to change that. I'm considerate, I'm compassionate, and I'll be like, okay, not everybody's the same, right? Doesn't mean that I think that they have less of a connection with God or they love Him less. I'm not getting into none of that stuff. It's just, I'll finish with this. This is just me. Okay, please don't think I'm judging or preaching. I'm just putting out there really where I'm at. A couple months ago, I think it was Matthew Thompson, who I'll bring up here in a minute. We got some things to share. It was his on the spot night. I scheduled it. I asked him to do it. He was ready to go. He made the time for it. I was sicker than I'd probably ever been in my life. And I mean, not with like throwing up or anything, just like physically weak, hardly could walk, couldn't move. Head cold, yada, yada, yada. Just, it was bad. And Deb I think she was saying the day before, "Are you going to cancel that?" I'm like, "No, I'll be fine." I just knew, almost delusionally so, okay? That's where the faith and delusion sometimes can blur if you really don't know the difference between them. It's like, I'll be good. I'm going to go. I didn't think that I would feel as decent as I did during those 2 hours. And me and Matt were talking on his on the spot. But about 20 minutes before 6 o'clock came, I started feeling better. I felt pretty good because I know God wanted His testimony to get through. He had to allow me some time to feel at least good enough to sit down with Him and do that. I felt pretty good. About 10 minutes after we ended that on the spot, I was back on the couch, whimpering, crying to myself, feeling horrible. And that's just me. But, I don't know. Maybe that's one of the reasons God uses me for stuff like this. I don't know. It doesn't mean that I don't respect everybody and all that stuff. It's just, in God's timing. I wish James the best, James Guthrie. There's really no way to, I got his phone number. Maybe we'll stay in touch. Maybe, but this is the second time it's happened. So probably just not going to see his, in all fairness. Be compassionate, soul. I got a message here. Let me see this. All right, bet. All right, let me bring Matthew up. I got a few things I'm going to talk about, so we'll see what he's doing. Hold on a minute? Can I put him in touch with somebody to do? Well, yeah, Josh, put me in touch with whoever, brother. Sorry, I'm not reading all the people at church. I do. Oh, people at the church don't like me because I look at things differently than them. Well, we ought to talk then. I'd love to see how you look at things. Yeah, it's a tough one, Jamie. It is. Sorry, guys. I get to talking and I kind of miss some of the whatchamajigs, the comments. Here comes Matt. See what this knucklehead's talking about. Am I wrong? Am I wrong, Matt? Am I crazy? Should I not feel, somebody cancels on me after 2 weeks of promoting it and sharing it out and typing up the whole description and writing all the questions? Then it's cancellation on the day. I'm tamed on this. I probably feel a little bit more angered about it, but what are you going to do? I ain't going to try to look like a jackass about it, but I'm like, man, What do you got going on?
Nothing over here with the kids, it's like a roaring tornado over here with 4 of them now, so, but I prayed for it, and God answered my prayers, man,
Yeah,
and
you did it
yeah,
quick too. A
pretty
lot
quick,
quicker than I was thinking.
a lot quicker than what I was thinking too. I thought it was going to be months or years of process, but it happened in a matter of weeks, and I'm very blessed, grateful, I had to learn to, like, today somebody taught me the difference between grateful and thankful. Grateful is what I truly work hard for, and thankful is what God promises me. So, it's a big difference, but I learned that today from
Decent.
a young lady. Yeah, it's a good thinking process. But yeah, other than that, life be life, and 9 months and 7 days clean today. I couldn't be more thankful than anything.
Yeah, brother. I don't want to like overplay it, but like certain people, you know how bad your addiction was. You know how deep you were to the streets and how committed you were to that lifestyle. You might have had some, suicidal thoughts now and then. I don't know if we covered that or whatever. You don't have to share that here, but every day that you're on this side of sanity and awake and get to wake up and deal with the stresses or deal with, or have some fun and laughs. They're kind of miraculous days. They really are. Because we were dead set on taking ourselves out. We might have thought we were having fun and we were cool and we were the person to go to or whatever, but it was a slow ride to hell. I don't miss none of it.
Yeah, like I always like I'm gonna say this.
Noah poured root beer on the wagon.
Go clean it up for me. That's my daughter. I'm sorry. So
Oh,
like I'm gonna share this. Like when I first got into recovery, I didn't have the perspective I have today. Like I didn't like my first week or two. I didn't want to be a burden to anybody anymore. Like I could share this today. Like this. Like I didn't even want to be alive. Still a week into my recovery. And I didn't I didn't know if I was gonna be able to live life correctively without a substance or alcohol in my life, like I didn't know if I wanted this, like, but 9 months and 7 days later, with the proper work of action and the people in my life that guide me through this and teach me what they know and freely gives it to me, gives me a different perspective in life. I can go through these struggles and I can go through whatever it is that life has to throw at me without the use of a substance or even wanting to kill myself. Like I'm gonna be real. Like I really wanted to off myself my first week because I didn't want to feel like a burden to my wife, to people around me. Like I didn't feel they deserved that. I didn't feel I deserved the life that I have today. But that's one thing that my God promises me, that I deserve all of this. And I'm worthy of all of this. But just don't get me wrong. It's not peaches and cream. I got to put that work in, it's a work of action, and it's a lot of integrity too, and like that integrity is sometimes hard to do, but it's what you do behind closed doors, not in front of people's faces, and that's what my program consists of today. A lot of integrity, and I'm not going to speak on it because integrity, that's not what I do with it. I just do it out the kindness of my heart. But it's walking other men through these steps and giving them freely what was freely given to me, that gives me a sense of humor, humility, and respect for myself, most importantly, and I'm very grateful for that today, like I really am.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I met you. Like I said, for the first couple, I think I've seen some of your videos. Maybe you had 3 months, maybe something like that. But just from the way you were talking and speaking, reminded me of somebody else. I think you know who I'm talking about, a fellow brother of ours. And
Yeah.
he had a similar story. So I was like, This dude's pretty real, like, and I know that we could be some con artists and stuff like that, man, and addiction. But when we commit to doing better and being better, God will take all of our flaws and defects and he'll just switch them and do a 180 and use that same energy for his glory so we could benefit those around us. That's sometimes, and it's beautiful to see, because now I think you're on this like truth kick. And I knew none of this was going to work for me. You could take the 12 steps, you could take CR, you could take your AA, NA meetings, and you just put them in a box right here. If you aren't willing to go into your first 24 hours till your last hour, absolutely truthful in every single aspect of your life, it's not going to work for you. There's going to be holes. When you start dodging accountability, you're going right back out the door. And I know that's easier said than done. But that's what builds integrity. It's nothing you need to talk about. It's just what you have to be about and become. I think you've done that. And when we first started talking, I'm like, well, this is how I'm going to be all the time to you. Like, if you can find any flaws or whatever in me, I'm sure you can. I'm not perfect, but you're going to get the same me every time, and that's all I was asking for, which I'm glad you talked about that, because this brings me to my next little topic I wanted to talk about. Because I think there's some people that don't think you could be both of these authentically, compassionate and bold at the same time. What that means to me, and I'll give it to you real quick, that just means that I know that a loving God saved me from myself, literally in 2000 and in 2023. So he was there all along in 23 years. I never gave him the credit for it. I just use God. I would never let God use me. Selfish, all that stuff, the opposite of being compassionate. But I express that. I feel like that's who God's made me to be these days. There's some that's going to argue against that. Well, they're just wrong. They flat out are. That's just what I believe. I'm like, I give a to everybody I talk to. I try to lift them up and encourage them all the time. I don't say words I don't mean. Just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean I don't mean it. So that's what I'm talking about, being compassionate but bold at the same time. If you just get too compassionate or too vulnerable, then sometimes people will take advantage of you. Sometimes people will be like, oh, you're doing your recovery wrong. You're going to fail. Don't do this. You got to do it like that. Then you get all these self-crowned sponsors and everything else like that. Somebody with 3 years in a program that tells you you're going to fail on day one. Sit there and shut up for the first 30 days. No, you got a damn story to tell. And if you're willing to be truthful, then you should speak. Yes, you should listen, of course. It's how you're going to learn if you don't listen. But to tell somebody that they can't speak as part of the program, that sounds like the life I ran away from. So those programs have a lot to reform and change a little bit, in my opinion. But how do you balance being compassionate for that next person you want to help be there with, but at the same time making sure that you don't become a doormat?
So I'm gonna use this situation first, and then I'll get to where I'm at with my sponsees. So I had a sponsor. And I picked up that sponsor. I picked that sponsor back up. I let a sponsor go because we had a falling out, and I moved on to another sponsor. But when I moved on to another sponsor, there was these little red flags popping up, but I didn't want to point them out at first. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. And then all of a sudden it started to where you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to be this, you got to be that, and I'm like, man, wait. I said, the program I work is about suggestions and not what you're trying to tell me what I have to do. If that was the case, I'd still be in prison or in the streets and somebody guided me through life because I can't do it for myself, But I had called Trav, as a matter of fact, and told him, that that new sponsor I picked up, I had to let him go, man, because this dude tried to tell me what I had to do instead of suggest it, So I picked up a sponsor. And I called him back. I said, I really offer you that falling.
Come on, phone.
We both held each other accountable, and we owned up to our own shit, and He said, yeah, what you getting at? I said, would you sponsor me again? He was like, man, he says, I told you I was going to be here regardless and support you through the walk, regardless if I'm your sponsor or not. I'm your brother. And like, you know, I had to sit back and really look at the picture and play the tape forward and backwards to realize what was going on, and really realizing that God was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. You know, that he put certain people in my life for me to see my own character defects, you know, and my own shortcomings, you know. And the program I work, 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. I am a recovering drug addict and alcoholic, but I work the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I classify as an alcoholic out of respect of the Alcoholics Anonymous program. And the first thing my sponsor said when I picked him back up, because I had this dude, I've been having this dude my whole recovery. Maybe 2 weeks out of my whole recovery, I let him go to like wander off and see if I can get a different perspective in my recovery, basically, you know, because I didn't like what went on. So I used that as an easy way out. And so he just got back from a cruise today. He called me, he said, man, you ready to put pen to paper? I said, man, I said, when, like, and this is how I think. I said, man, when does the work stop? You know, damn, you know, like you just getting off and you coming at me like we're going to put pen to paper. But, you know, I had to remember the program I work, you know, and if I don't put it pen to paper, I don't realize my wrongs, you know, I don't realize what I'm doing unless I put it pen to paper, you know. And yes, I had to do a 4th step on my sponsor. So I'm gonna throw that out there, you know, but I'm willing to admit my wrongs today. That's what I'm trying to say. So it leads to my sponsees. So I didn't understand them halfway, you know, because I'm this type of person. If stupid is stupid, you know, that's how I used to think, you know, like you're never going to change, you know, like, but you know, this meeting them halfway, what this program has taught me, and I'm only saying that because it's the truth, bro. You know, like I could sit here and lie and say, I know what stupid is, this, and that. I got some blame with being that too, you know, but growing up teaches you a lot, you know. And with my sponsees today, I meet them halfway. I don't care what their recovery is or how they look at they should recover. I meet them halfway and give freely what was given to me and help guide them towards a solution, no matter what situation they're in. So I got a sponsee that calls me, you know, for some reason he wants to talk to me when he's getting high, you know. So I'm like, in my head, it's like, man, they got 10 more miracles out there, you know, like willing to work this program. What am I going to waste my time on him for? And, you know, again, I sit back, I write down on paper what it is. And then all of a sudden it's like, when I talk to my sponsor, he tells me the same thing I was thinking. Don't give up on the weak because you feel they're weaker, you know? And I'm like, man, that hit home, you know, like it brought me back to him. You didn't give up on me when I was out here and didn't want to work this program. So why should I be the one to say I'm gonna give up on somebody else, you know? But that's where you're at with it. And that's where I'm at with it, you know, like it's courageous and bold, you know, being willing to accept them for who they are and not who I want them to be, you know, like that's where I'm at with it, you know. It's not what I think it should be.
I respect the heck out of that, and I understand that way a little bit more by talking to you, with you sharing those experiences. I haven't done AA or NA for quite a while. What you see is what I've worked on. I kind of picked the steps back up. I've been pretty thorough with those. But I've asked God specifically early on to, like, don't just remove and heal stuff for me. You know, like, give me the same situations. I want to learn from them. I want to see the errors of my wrongs, and I want to be able to admit it and not just apologize for it, but put together a plan, a way to, like, stop making those same mistakes, childish, immature mistakes, insecurities, fear, abandonment, all led me to make the same mistakes over and over and over. That's how I've been getting through some things, because a lot of the same situations will come up that came up years ago that I got wrong 100% of the time. I'm like, God, don't just, make this path smooth for me. Let the same situations come up, something with the wife or work or whatever it is. And I see myself responding the same way I always used to, but I can way more quickly be like, nah, there ain't no sense in doing it like that. Do I trust God or not? Does he have me or not? I'm like, okay, I see what this is. That's why I'm more grateful for the storms and the blessings, because the bigger blessing is coming after that storm if you don't mess it up. And I love being able to see that, because as a man and as a person, you want to be able to fix some stuff on your own. And I put on your own in quotes, because it's really not on your own. It's the help, people around the table, the sponsor, of God. So that's what it takes.
Darkwing, let's go.
And I just keep trying to do that one day after the other. And the thing about talking to somebody, if they're high or whatever, I don't know. I don't have any sponsees, but your truth doesn't have to change no matter if they're sober or not. I mean, you might say a little bit less because they're not probably going to hear you the same, but somebody else's recovery or relapse shouldn't affect us. It really shouldn't. But I mean, I wouldn't dance with the devil too much with stuff like that. But if you're good, you're good, and nobody else should put you in jeopardy. What else was I going to talk about?
I want to throw this out there about the Jeopardy part real quick. The only person that can allow themselves, like, I'm gonna speak on Matthew, me. The only person that can allow me to be put in jeopardy is myself, But, tolerance and love is learned through patience, and that's just, it's like having patience for a kid. Because, like, all right, if I tell my kid to do something, like with my son from the first on the spot, I stated this. My son goes and plays in a box and he's got a room full of toys, But, in my head, it's like, well, that sponsee's got a problem still, and he doesn't really know which way to go. And I can't just tell him or make him do this. I could just love him until he loves himself, And that's. I just wanted to throw that out there because I've seen a comment from, I think it was Deb, and it says, "Oh no, you got to call me when you clean." I got a lot of people that's like that, but it's teaching me patience and tolerance today.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's a big lesson too. We'll speak on this and then move on, but I'm with her on that. I mean, this is just me being honest and real. This may not be like, oh, he said that, he's terrible, unfollow. I'm not talking to you if you're drunk, period. I have nothing to gain from that. I'm not going to save you if you're drunk. Look, and they could even be like, because this has happened. Because then people will be like, well, what if they're going to go do something worse? And they're drunk, man. If I hang up on them or be like, call me when you're sober, they're probably going to drunk dial the next person, or maybe not. But I'm not going to wear that burden on me. I can't help you when you're drunk. You're not going to listen and hear nothing. You're going to fall asleep on the phone or whatever. Now, some might say, like, it's better to have them on the phone so they don't go driving and do anything crazy. I'm not subscribing to none of that. That's not what I'm in this for. I'm not Captain Saba drunk. If you're drunk, you're drunk. You're making that decision to try to draw me into it to be your savior. Who the hell? I don't have no cape. I don't have no cape. And I've done this, and I can speak on it because I regret every time I've ever drunk text or drunk dialed somebody and try to talk to them. Because it all came out. It's the stages of drunkenness. You're just talking decent, maybe funny. Then all of a sudden you're like mad. Then you're crying. Then you're blaming the person you called and talked to for 2 hours. I don't subscribe to that. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a dude on a journey who knows when to get in and get out. I got a cousin who's bad like that, man, and I love him to death. But I'm like, bro, there's no sense in you coming over here drunk. It's not triggering to my sobriety. It just annoys me and it makes me sad. And all I want to do is, well, can't you find compassion for it? No, because they're not going to feel that compassion. It just makes you angry and it sucks. And that's what the disease does, man. So I don't like none of that. But I mean, to each their own. I hope and pray he gets some help someday. So yeah, I mean, what else? All the other stuff I wanted to talk about tonight is getting into recovery and getting sober. However you do it is fine by me. It's all in God's timing anyway. He affords us every way that you're staying sober. This thing with validation, can start kicking in, where you're seeking validation from the people around the table, the chairperson, your sponsor, your counselor, or whatever, or for the world to see you in a certain way. And it doesn't make any sense for me to seek validation, approval, or acceptance in a world that killed a perfect man. So I would stop doing that immediately. Also, don't seek validation, approval, or acceptance in a world that killed a perfect man. That should end that whole debate. Just work on yourself and give all glory to God and take the things to him. Another thing is, over these last almost coming up on 3 years, and I'm trying to move past this, but it just still kind of irks me, and I don't know all the ins and outs. So I try to like really think out loud sometimes. There's a lot of different recovery out there on social media. And what I've seen is a lot of recovery groups I've seen have moved into like the monetization arena. And I don't ever want to do that. Facebook's going to do what they want to do, but I'm not trying to like make money off of somebody's testimony. And I'll be damned if I'm going to sit there and tell you a bunch of ways to stay sober when you can just go read it in the big book. I don't like none of that, because I think it takes the authenticity and the fellowship out of it. If you just have recovery without fellowship, I mean, okay, you're just kind of trading good days with somebody else. But when you have true fellowship, somebody else's bad day, when they share it with you, could actually, lift you up. If you're having a bad day, somebody else shares something that's worse than yours. Now all of a sudden you're feeling a little bit better, so you're going to share your stuff. And what I've seen in real recovery and real fellowship is when somebody that shares a struggle that they're having, and somebody else is just kind of there going through the motions, they don't want to talk about it, they had a bad day. Then they hear this person that's really had a real bad day. They just lost somebody. Now they got to take care of all the funeral, expenses and all this stuff. A pet died, whatever it is. So they hear somebody else share about that, and they get through it. They know it's triggering. People drink every time somebody died, this and that and the other, but I'm getting through it. Now you sit there with your little kind of pouty bad day, and teach their own. And it makes you feel like, well, this isn't too bad. If this person's sitting here and they're not going to drink over this, then, I'm going to talk about mine and get my stuff out there. That's what I love about fellowship, because it doesn't judge anything that anybody's about to share, which I've seen in a lot of groups that don't have a God base. And that's why I love the meetings that we do, because you can really share anything that's on your heart or mind that's troubling you. And I can see people healing in real time. And for anybody to come along and try to like make money off that or monetize something, I think you're doing a disservice to recovery. And that's why I just personally do not rock with a bunch. I mean, to each their own, but less is more for me. I don't need it. Yeah. And my feelings on the whole recovery thing is, and like I said, when it comes down to the apex point of everything's in God's timing. Now you could say, well, I'm an atheist or a Satanist and I got 6 years sober. Cool. I guarantee you God's still affording you that time. So it always comes down to like God and the timing of that individual. There's so many ways to get stay clean and sober, but there's only one way to cleanse your soul, and that's through Christ. And if I could be completely frank with you, just going through my notes a little bit, Matt, you can jump back in whenever. This isn't something I want to do for the rest of my life. I don't want to talk for the next 10, 20, 30 years about drugs and recovery and addiction and relapse. I really don't, to be completely honest with you. This is not my career. I'm not trying to be the next Drew Hicks here. No offense to Drew Hicks, congratulations on all the clean time and everything like that. But all I'm trying to do is build that kingdom. I want to see lost souls come to Christ and get inside those pearly gates. That's my biggest thing. Do you have to be clean and sober for that to happen? And you know what? That could be a whole topic some night. I'm not sure, because I know that there's plenty of people that have accepted Christ into their hearts fully, but this world pulls them back. That's why we need Christ, because we're always tempted. And it's a daily surrender, and it's a damn fight. And that's why it takes a group of people. But as far as me like wanting to talk about this stuff years and years down the line, I mean, I can't really see it, but I'm never going to get tired of talking about Christ and what he does for me on a daily basis and what he pulled me through. But at a certain point, your testimony has got to become 90% of what God's done for you and doing for you, and 10% about what you put God through. That's why the living word should evolve your testimonies. If you're giving the same testimony time and time and time again, something's wrong with that.
So like I could speak on that, so not to cut you off, Trev, but like in my journey, like I do this recover out loud, and 90% of the time when I go into these treatment centers and correctional centers and I moderate meetings, I don't share at these meetings on how where I come from all the time. I like to share on what's going on in my daily life, like when I'm sitting in these treatment centers, I let them know where I come from and where I'm at now, and what program of action I work today to be there, and that I let them know though, like when I first come in recovery, this was not what I wanted still. I told the people, call me an Uber, and give me a cigarette and call me an Uber. I'll sit on the curve. I do not want to be here. It was like, but what about your wife and your kids? I'm like, yeah, what about them? Like I'm just being honest with you, like I'm more comfortable living the life I'm living, like who I got to answer to? Nobody but myself, But little did I know, as I grew in my recovery, I found out what the purpose was, and I'm finding out more and more every day, like at the end of the day, I tell them what's going on today, like if I go to a treatment center on a Sunday and speak on a Sunday, I let them know what I went through that day and how I got through. I don't tell them what happened years ago. Now, if it was my life story I was speaking or something like that, yes, I let them know everything. But I let them know what I went through in that week or that day and how I got through it. I picked that phone up. I called my sponsor because I'm going to be real. I didn't even have trust in my sponsor when I first come into this program. Like, what am I going to sit across from another man and tell this everything I did in life when I could just take it to my grave and not tell him nothing, like real talk. And but I gained trust, it took 6 months before I could trust this dude and do a legitimate step 4 and step 5 and sit across the table from him. Now, don't get me wrong. My sponsor is a gamer and I'm a street thug, like, and you just put 2 and 2 together where I'm getting at with it, like it's not at the end of the day, it's not about where we come from in life. It's about what I see in him that I want, and that dude taught me really how to grow up, like taught me like that step 4 split the boys from the men, like it really, it made me dig deep, man. And I'm still digging deep today. But, that's what I get out of this program. I don't get out of this program being happy to go in meetings and drink coffee and eat donuts and listen to people would sit across from me saying, oh, how rainbows and butterflies come from the yang, like, no, that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear what the problem was that you went through today and the solution you used to get out of it. Like that's really what it is. But it plays a lot with my faith too, having faith in my higher power to lead me through the day. It's this surrendering daily that I have to do and believing that he's going to restore me to sanity each and every day, because I could be a very insane person if I let my thoughts take over. It's praying, meditating, and doing a daily inventory every night, to know where I was wrong and how could I fix it. I'm not perfect though, it's progress over perfection, and it's these principles that I apply in my life daily that these promises come true, like with my kids. If I wasn't doing a program of action or putting that work in, you think this would have come true for my kids? God probably would have been like, nope, you need to sit a little longer, like, I don't feel you ready right now. You got a little more work to do, but he knows exactly when everything is going to fall in place. And if exactly the direct timing that he has set, and I believe that, I believe that. You would have asked me this when I first come into recovery, I would have told you, man, you're blowing smoke up my yin yang, like I would have told you all that, but this dude's opened doors for me tremendously and to move some mountains I did not expect to be moved. And that's God honest truth. Today I serve my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And, AA is a spiritual program. Don't get me wrong, but I have my religion that I have on the outside of AA. And that's my fundamental foundation to my program of action. Like that's real talk. Without God, who would I be today? Like without God, would I even be alive? Like that's the things I look at, and that's my program today is my God, my AA worker program of action through AA, and then my family and everything else. I got to work on a lot of things still, not everything's peaches and cream right now, but it's knowing who Matthew really is to figure out what Matthew really needs, like that's just where I'm at with my recovery, and that's just, it's a work in progress. I'm under construction for the rest of my life. It's like building a house from the foundation to the roof, it's halfway up there right now, and it's probably going to stay halfway until God only knows what, because there's some character defects I'm not willing to work on right now, like, because I don't want to see what it has to show me, and I'm just being truthful, but it's not going to kill me.
No, it's God's timing as well, because he look, a lot of people quickly say, God's will over mine, and 100%. But a lot of times, just on a more human level, day-to-day type of thing, it's his priorities over my priorities. I mean, you got your goals, you got your priorities, you got your things you want to do day-to-day that you have to do your responsibilities, but it's his priority. So if you go out every day and you just fill your days with doing 1,000 different things, how many of those things does God really have his hand in? You're just saying, hey, I got to stay busy or I'll go crazy. Well, I don't know that. It says, be still and know that I'm the Lord. So when he wants you to move from doing this, and it might be a good thing that you're doing, but he might be like, okay, I need you over here because this is going to progress you and fit my purpose and plan a little bit more for not only your life, but my glory. You have to let him work through you like that, because people will quickly say, I'm obedient to God, still his will over mine. And then they go out there trying to do like 30 different things a day. And I'm like, he might have like one or two of those things that he's helping you with, and the rest of them is just all you. So you're saying that, but you're still proving that you're leaning on your own understanding with your actions. So that's why I say, and Deb calls, she disputed this last night, but I call sometimes my faith lazy, because, and then Kristen read something last night at the end of the meeting that like fit it perfectly. I'm like, look, if you trust that God's in control, then let him be in control. There's things you got to do. You got to pay the bills. You got to work. You got to put food on the table. He gets all that stuff. But a lot of people will get into recovery, get God, and they're like, I'm going to go do all this stuff. I'm going to prove my faith through these works and these actions and these deeds. I'm going to pay God back for his grace, which trumps the grace. It null and voids it. Grace is grace. And there's nothing that you can do to earn that stuff. Now, it might be some stuff you want to do to stay busy, and it's good. You're helping people out like that. But if you're missing what God has, if you're missing what God wants you to be working on, then that's a tough one. I don't want to miss some stuff. And I'm sure I have a little bit over the years. But, bro, I just wake up and I'm just like, what do you want to do today? That's it. I don't really have a program of recovery. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, it's just, look, I'm going to the source, not the resources. That's it. I'm not making recovery and sobriety my idol. I'm making God my savior, and he'll provide everything that I need. Because otherwise it's just me. It's like, oh, I'm sober now, so here's all the stuff I got to go do that's going to help me. And it might, but if I start putting all the work and time into those resources and neglect the source, it's probably not going to work out. That's something I've learned 6 times before. I'm like, okay, this has got to be all God or nothing. And he's given me the things that I need. He's provided the meetings. He's provided sharing people's testimonies, fellowship, brotherhood. I mean, he's given me everything. the 12 steps are being worked on a daily basis through the meetings and on the spots and conversations I have with brothers like you. It's tremendous. He fits things to my personality. He knows my needs so well. And he knows I'm going to show up for him. And that's a big deal to me. So when you hear about God using people like Moses, who murdered somebody, David, who was an adulteress and killed people, I mean, Saul going into Paul, I mean, like, those guys did some really bad stuff, and God used them in a profound way. So why wouldn't he use somebody like me, some middle-aged guy from a small town in Illinois? Sure. Okay. Well, I give him all of me. Have your way. And over these last 2.5 years, I mean, the fruit's there, I believe. You know, it's been a learning process, but I have to learn. I don't want to be perfect. I want to learn. And that's what sobriety is for me. For me, it's more about discovery than it is recovery. Recovery means, okay, I'm sober today. I can pass a piss test. Now let's get on to figuring out who God made me to be. Because there's nothing in my past that I want to really recover. I want to grow and evolve and mature. And without him, I would just ruin it all again anyway. I don't want my recovery to just be a cycle. I want it to be a straight and narrow path. That's just me, though. And I think that it's proven itself over these last few years. Ain't been pretty at times, but it's been real and it's been raw. And I'm just grateful I get to meet people like you, even when I get a cancellation 3 hours before and on the spot.
I like how you said, what does God use people like me from Illinois? You know, like, I be asking myself the same thing. Why is God using somebody like Matthew from the Bayou in Louisiana? You know, like, what is it that God sees in me, you know? But it's not for me to understand or explain. It's for me just to do the work, you know, like, just do what he's leading me.
100%.
You know,
so many people want to know why, and they say, I don't deserve this, and I fear this, and I can't do this. I'm like, well, do you trust in God or not? If you trust in God, stop saying, I'm scared to do, I fear this, I can't do. Well, then you don't trust in God. People don't like to hear that. They're going to log off. Well, I'm not saying increase your faith. That's different. That's a real personal issue with people. But you cannot say, for me, I'll say personally, I can't say I trust God and then with my actions prove otherwise. Then I'm better go back to square one and surrender all over again, because that rock bottom that I thought was an altar, probably just another trampoline bottom. Many people, I had 25 rock bottoms. Did you? You only get one. Either you changed and your life got better, or it didn't. And somebody tried to steal that from me. I should have copywritten it, the trampoline bottom, but that's what they was. I didn't have 7 rock bottoms. I had 1. That became the altar and the foundation in which I laid my will and my life down to the care of God. I stand under him because he understands me, period. I'll be truthful and willing. Let's go. And this has been a ride ever since. I'm not changing nothing. Why would I want to change anything? He hasn't told me to. When he says, do this, don't do that. Okay. I know it's going to work out. Maybe not even for my benefit, but for somebody's and for his glory. That's all I care about. Okay. I'll scare people off when I say this, but I don't spend my days sitting around here being like, oh, will I get into heaven? I hope I do. Right now, I don't care about that. I just want to keep my eyes on Jesus and get as close to him as possible, because the only way to heaven, where the Father is through his Son. My eyes are on Christ, not the gates. And if 100 people should get in there, or 2 people get into heaven and I don't make it, that's more glory than God gets. Good for them. I had a decent life because I wasn't doing crap with it until I gave my life up. So that's a win. That's all I care about. And if I lay down at night and the wife's happy with me, I'm good, bro. I don't need nothing else. Nothing in this world I care about. I don't care about the money. I don't care about nothing. I like me some good milkshakes and ice cream now and then. Probably shouldn't, but I don't care about nothing this world has to offer. It's all built on sand. Your clothes, all the CHH wrappers with the big old chains and stuff. I got me these little cross, but how's that validating you? You don't think I can sit here and write you a good rap in 20 minutes? I don't want the phony fake stuff or the performance faith. Don't have a faith of performance. Just be real every day. If you're mad, be mad and be authentic. Don't hide from anything. And then say you're influencing somebody by denying Christ what he already knows. You know what a real Christian is? A real Christian knows that Christ knows them every second of the day. So they're going to go out into the world and be that person. Nothing else. Now, we want to keep our emotions in check and we want to be mature and respectful and all that stuff. I get that. That's a work in progress. Christians, people in recovery, stop using people's works in progress against them. Just because you got a little bit more recovery don't mean nothing to me. I'll talk to somebody who's got 30 days, just like I'll talk to somebody who's got 30 years, because guess what? They got a story somebody needs to hear. You all need to evolve a little bit with that. Okay, that's just me. I'll shut up. I digress.
Nah, you're right. It's said to me every time from my sponsor, don't listen to the messenger, listen for the message. Don't listen to the messenger, listen for the message, because I had where I come in the rooms and people would tell me, man, take the cotton out your ears and stick it in your mouth. I looked at that boy like, man, who is you playing with? Like, what in the hell? Like,
yeah, but
wait,
hold
up.
discernment.
I said, man, how are you supposed to know what I'm going through if I take cotton out my ears and put it in my mouth? How you expect to help me if I can't tell you what I'm going through? My sponsor that I have now walked up into a room. Yeah, like walked up into the room and he was by himself getting ready for a meeting. And I walked in there. I said, bro, I want you as my sponsor. He says, why? I said, because you're the only person in this meeting asked me what it is that I'm struggling with, and everybody else telling me take the cotton out my ears and stick it in my mouth. Like I said, I'm not doing that for expectation wise. I said, I'm doing that because you got something I want, and I hear it in your voice, and it was that peace, that man, what boy, that man. And, like he taught me, he's teaching me daily. Like, I ain't gonna say he taught me, because saying taught me would be I'm good at it now, but he's teaching me the definition of a man, a husband, a father, how to work a 9-to-5 job, like these things, like I own my own company now. When I did my first on the spot, I was struggling trying to find a job, but God's then opened the door where I can run my own company, man. And I'm just starting it. It's not where it needs to be. And it's never going to be where it needs to be, but I got work today,
You don't know that.
I don't have to.
No, you don't know it ain't going to be where it needs to be. Don't say that.
Well,
you got a company right. God gave you. You just show up and do your job. He'll take it where he wants.
Let me take that back. I do. I am grateful. At the end of the day, I am grateful.
Beyond what you think. Yeah, I feel you, and I'm happy for you.
And you said something about Deb. As long as you go to bed at night and and Deb's okay, or you okay with this, at night, even if I go to bed and my wife's mad at me, the next day's a different day.
Yeah, that's true.
Like there's probably a lot more days that she's going to be mad at me than okay with me, but I know in my heart, and at the end of the day, I love her and she loves me, like and she's willing to walk this journey with me. Because if that wasn't the case, she wouldn't have accepted my 3 oldest kids into the life that we have today. I probably would have had to find another house,
She deserves
I know that
she deserves a big round of applause for that. That's taken on a lot.
Right.
I mean, people ain't doing that these days. I mean, a lot of people are giving up marriage, giving up their kids, and she's willing to take on 3 more while you're doing your thing with recovery and trying to work. So she deserves a huge pat on the back, a medal, whatever you want to call it. She deserves kudos and credit and grace for sure.
And she was the first one. She told me when we got the call at 11 o'clock in the afternoon. She says, I said, somebody's trying to call my phone from Tennessee. I said, I don't know who it is. And all of a sudden they called her phone. She was like, Matt, we got to go get the kids. I said, man, you playing. I started crying, bro. I ain't going to lie. I started crying. I'm like, man, this can't be true. I started crying. I said, man, she says, Matt, we got to go. We got to go get Noah from school, my 2-year-old. We got to go get your 3 kids. I said, man, you playing with me? And she was like, no. Well, sure enough, she shot out. We did 85 the whole way from Louisiana, Estelle, Louisiana, all the way to Covington, Tennessee, and we got my kids. The next day we signed paperwork and my kids are here, man, and that's if that ain't God doing for me what I can't do for myself, I don't know how else to explain it to anybody, you know, because I was this hopeless dope fiend that didn't have nothing in life to come into a recovery lifestyle and gaining everything a little bit at a time, you know, and yeah, I'm blessed for that, you know, I'm blessed.
I mean, you can see the things that the same guy that gave you them kids back is the same one that kept you from getting stabbed maybe one more time in prison that would have ended things. He knew exactly how many you could take. That's the same guy that took all them lashes from being flogged. I'm just saying, you know, by his stripes we are healed. He knew exactly what you could take, what you were going to go through, and what he was going to give you. But by giving you these kids back, it's not. Yeah, it's a blessing. It's a gift, but it's also to tell you that, hey, you know, okay, I'm going to keep my eye. This is the decent prize, but it's there's more work. There's more work to commit to, and you just keep doing what you've been doing. There's no need to like do extra. It's just keep doing everything that you've been doing and balance and try to balance it all. Just pray for balance. You know, don't be way over here too much and then over here it's neglected. I know it's a lot, man. I respect the hell out of you for doing it all. To be honest with you, my days are easy here compared to yours. So I all the respect in the world. I'm glad we met, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and look, I tell my wife all the time. I said, "Man, Trav." She's like, "You talk to Trav?" And I was like, "Yeah, I talk to him. You know, I'm not perfect at talking to him, you know, but I do talk to him and I let him know what's going on. You know." She's like, "What about the other ones?" I was like, "Yeah, they deserve a update, you know." And but you know, that's Matthew. You know, this Matthew that I struggle with in between my ears. You know, this thing right here, you know, it's like, no, I don't need to do this, you know, but I do talk to you and I do keep in contact with you and I do, you know, come into meetings, you know, I'm not perfect at it, you know, but it will get better, you know, but at the same time, it's about the growth, you know, the progress over perfection, you know. And
yeah, and I see it. And I mean, I try to stay up with people. There's a lot, but I try to stay up with people. If I don't hear from them too much, I'll at least put a, hey, how you doing? And if I get a response back, I'm like, okay, they're okay. It doesn't mean we even have to have a long conversation, but you know, trying to build a team here, man, of brothers and sisters. And all it takes sometimes is for one person to send you a message or a little phone call just to see how you're doing. That'll change your whole day. I've learned that a lot.
those people I want in my corner today, you know, like I want people that's gonna sit here and like help me, you know, like and not say,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna help you and just go MIA, you know. I mean, I'm not perfect at that, you know, I'm not. But it is about just the simple just check-in, like how you doing, like you just said, you know, that shows me where we're at, you know,
I mean,
like that.
I try to hold myself to that. I'm not perfect either, but I started writing down little notes for myself to be like, message so and so, ask so and so about this, hit so and so up, because I'll say sometimes that I'm going to do this or that and just completely forget because something else comes up, and that's my fault. But it doesn't mean that I don't care. Even though I have had some people, you know, say otherwise. I even got this guy one time who was convinced and said that I was working for the devil. I'm like, well, he's probably really disappointed then. The thing, this is, and he's still kind of around. I hope he's doing better, but I'm like, oh my God, how do I defend myself against that? How do I prove that I'm not working for the devil? Anyway, the thing I love the most, let me go back to this right quick. And I think we're probably going to wrap it up here in just a minute. The cotton out of your ears and mouth thing, that really, I get the intentions behind that, but a lot of old heads and some people especially that I've experienced personally, that's a very egotistical thing to say to somebody, because what they're saying is without you sharing anything with them, they're going to say some stuff that they know is going to fit your circumstance in your life perfectly without you ever even sharing anything at all. Let me prove to you guys, if I could, please, let me prove to you how that's the wrong way to go about it. Old heads and AA and NA, jot this down as an example. If I'm a doctor, okay, at a hospital, suited up, and I got patients coming in, I'm going to need to know where they're injured at, okay? I'm not going to just guess. Like if somebody comes in and they say I'm sick, I'm going to be like, well, bronchitis, could be COVID. Here's a pill. I don't know. I think it's going to work for you because it worked for me. So you have to know what's wrong with people. Now, some go into meetings and they're like this, right? They don't share nothing. They go on their phone, just here for drug court, whatever. So there's people who won't share. Yeah, then you share your experiences. But the ones who want to talk, let them talk so you can better minister to them. Because that's really what these recovery groups and these meetings are, AA, NA, whatever. You're ministering something to somebody else. And if you know about where they're at, you know more specifically what to say to them, what to share. That's what gets them coming back to the table. Because once somebody feels like they're accepted and they're not judged and they're welcomed and somebody understands them, that's going to get them coming back through that door till they don't have to come back in that door. They come back because they want to. And if somebody doesn't feel wanted or accepted or ignored, well, that's probably one of the reasons they started doing drugs and alcohol in the first place, because nobody would listen to them. They didn't feel loved. They felt neglected. So for me personally, I've experienced it. That's why God has given me GBR in these meetings and meeting people like you, bro. He won't do me wrong, so I'm not going to do God wrong. And the discernment that comes with it. Sometimes you say it's the message, not the messenger. Well, discernment will let me know both. Like, well, that's a terrible, wrong message, and you're not a good messenger. So I digress. I'm going to choose to walk this way. Good luck to you. Because I've heard a lot of people say a lot of bad stuff and give a lot of bad advice. I'm sure I've not been perfect with it, but thank God for discernment with this whole thing. Because if I didn't have discernment, I probably would have got eaten up and shoot out and followed a bunch of people I shouldn't be following, probably still idolizing Blake Martin and some others. I don't have any respect for when it comes down to it, man. All that dude wants to do is get on here and just argue with people and belittle them and disrespect them. I don't ever want to become like that. I can't ever become like that. I don't think I have enough face tattoos anyway. No disrespect to anybody with face tattoos, but I am what I am. They're like, man, how much more can I prove that I came from the streets? Look at me. I'm like, I believe you. Just sit down. Let's have some coffee or a cake or something. Like, you're cool. You don't have to prove nothing to me. It's just less is more. Sorry to all the Blake Martin fans out there. He's pretty cool. He told me one thing. I always give him credit for this. I shouldn't have even mentioned him, but I'm not perfect, right? But yeah, I don't really care for him. He said one time, what was it, Deb? Oh my gosh, I can't even remember. I think it was the whole like disease. Is addiction a disease versus like possession or oppression type of deal? But I don't want to get into none of that stuff. I just know what happened to me personally. I don't think you can treat addiction like you treat cancer and leukemia and everything else and diabetes. It's a disease of the soul, for one thing, and you need God in everything in your life. Cake. Brother, I think that's about all I got, man. I ran my mouth for a good while. I mean, you got a bunch of stuff you got to be doing there at the house. Let me do this. You don't ever really get to ask me much. If you want to ask me something, if something you want to know about me, give it a shot.
No, I'm gonna say there's nothing I want to ask, because when we do these meetings and when we do this right here, like me expressing my feelings and then all my thoughts is your thoughts coming out too, so it's like I can relate to everything you say, like I don't have no reason to contradict what you're saying, because I relate to it, like I ain't gonna say two great minds think alike, because then that'll be like I'm holding us above everybody, but we're in the same mind frame, like, and I like that. That's why I clicked up with you, I like what you have to offer, and it's not easy to find people like that these days, like to get the knowledge that you have and you like express it and then pass it on, that's what I like about you, bro. Like, you're truthful, you're honest, no judgment,
I never used to be. I really didn't. I would only be truthful if it served me something. I used to be better at lying. But like I said, God will take that what you used to do for bad, and he'll turn it to good. And it comes pretty naturally these days. And bro, a lot of the time, stuff just comes out in real time. If I give decent advice now and then, or encouragement, or a way to look at something a little bit differently, it's coming out live. Really, I don't sit around and think, what cool thing can I say tonight? I just like the whole thing with like gratitude is an action. I'm like, and somebody was like, I thought that was a mindset. I'm like, well, yeah, it is. But if you got a mindset of gratitude, then you're going to do everything from a position of gratitude. Like if you are grateful that you have your car, you're going to keep it clean and not smoke in it, and make everything decent. It's like love, like how love's a feeling. It's an action too. If I love somebody, you're going to show them that you love them by doing small acts for them, protecting them, moving them out of the way of a bus or something, bringing them coffee.
Yeah, I got
dishes.
I got something to say on that. I'm still like in the learning stages, coming up, and I'm not. My wife's right here. Like she can hear everything we're talking about, but she knows firsthand that I'm not good at expressing love, like I'm not good at expressing my feelings, when I express my feelings is out of anger, I'm still learning how to direct that to a passionate feeling,
It'll get there. You got all these years. You'll get there. Just keep your mind open. She'll probably give you a good example, but you'll get there. It doesn't mean you won't ever.
Oh yeah, when she bites back, I run.
I don't blame you. Don't blame you at all. Illinois is a sanctuary state, bro. You can jump up here if you have to. But I bet it's for a good reason when she does.
Oh,
my wife probably definitely agrees with that one.
But I can say it's hard to deal with us recovering alcoholics and addicts, especially when she's a normie, and I use normie because she's normal. She's never dealt with addiction or recovery until she's gotten with me, and seeing me at my lowest, and now she sees me in my growing stages, but it's very difficult to deal with people like us, because you never know where the mood was going to be at or how it's going to be, or they're always thinking, oh, what is he going to do today? That's what comes up in their head, but I do give her all the props, and I congratulate her for putting up with somebody like me, because she does it every second of the day. It's a second at a time, not a minute at a time for this, like she.
But see, that's a beautiful thing about this group and what God does, because there's somebody else that we know that he's a chair guy for us. His wife was never in addiction or nothing like that, but dealt with her husband's. So they have a story as well. It's seeing addiction through the eyes of the loved one, of the one who also suffered their loved one's addiction. It's the other side of it. So Claire definitely would have a story to tell. People will say, well, I'm not an addict, so I don't have a testimony. I'm like, you're a child of God. You certainly do. You've loved a son of God through their addiction. You put up with stuff. You had to guard yourself. You had to be supportive. You had to be every single emotion every day. How did that person's addiction affect you? And then they're like, heck, I never really thought about that. So they get to heal too. They get to express some stuff. There might be some stuff that she's still pissed at you about. Guess what? She has that right to be upset at some stuff still.
Right.
You can't ever say, hey, I'm 9 months clean and sober. Now you're good, right? With everything? Not really. We forfeited our right to ever be perfect and whole in their eyes. If there's something that she or my wife wants to hold against me until I'm 97 years old, even though I got 50 years of sobriety, that's her right to do. And they get to express that. My recovery does not mean that somebody else has to be on the same amount of time with me. It doesn't guarantee forgiveness. So yeah,
but at the end of the day, they're recovering too, from the mental aspect of it, So
yeah, absolutely right.
To me, that'll take a long time too, like mine's a lifetime. Theirs could take a lifetime too, because it's the mental capability that, like the manipulation, the this, the that, making them believe their own lies, like it's that type of things. in the not only in my recovery, but in their recovery aspect of it, because you know, us as addicts, we tend to make people believe that we're telling the truth the whole time, and you know, it becomes that it's a lie, but then they still believe it because they want to believe that person and have all trust in that person, you know, and that'll mess them up, you know. And that's where I'm at with it, you know. So yeah, sometimes I question, why are you still mad at me for these things? But then I got to look at it like, oh yeah, I did it to myself, you know.
True.
Like, it's not why is she mad at it, it's why did I do it to her, you know. Like, you know, that's the things that I got to look at. And it's like really digging deep and finding out the source of why I was doing it. And it revolves around a lot of childhood, and then me accepting and that I was going to be that person, and it was cool to do that. And then now changing it, it's like, man, yeah, the brighter picture comes to light now, you know.
True.
And I realized what it was and what I got to do to change it. But sometimes I'm lazy at it. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I'm lazy at it. I'm like you, Trev. I'm lazy at it sometimes, you know, but it's got to be drilled in my head. You know, I'm that addict. It's got to be drilled in my head for me to understand it, you know. And yeah, that's where it's at today, you know. And I'm very grateful for the people that I have in my life. You know, I worked hard to get relationships back and still gaining relationships, you know. But the people I got in my corner today, I'm very appreciative of it, you know, because they're going to hold me accountable. They're going to guide me. They're going to help me, you know. And I'm not talking about financially or ride wise. I'm talking about they're going to help me to learn a different perspective on life, you know. And that's what I appreciate today, you know. And I'm very grateful for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would really, and this goes for somebody else too. I'll probably have to ask them separately, but maybe after we get off here, mention, well, since she can hear me, I might really be interested in seeing if she would sit down, and she doesn't have to just talk about your addiction and your recovery and all that stuff. There might be some other stuff she wants to talk about too, but I would love to start getting, this is something I wanted to do. I wanted to start doing testimonies with people that suffered from their loved ones' addictions. Like, you know, a mom or dad seeing their son or daughter go through addiction, or you know, a husband and wife, or a brother and sister. You know, I wanted to get the other side of it to see how addictions affected, you know, loved ones, the other side of addiction, and how
She's
they dealt with it.
actor.
Hey, what's up?
She's right there, actor.
I see. Hey, you've heard everything I said, and this is something that I've been wanting to do for quite a while. It was get the other side of addiction. Like, you know, if you've never been addicted, okay, that's great. But in a way, you were kind of addicted to Matthew's addiction. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you enabled him, but his choices and actions and stuff affected you deeply, and you're still kind of, you know, on that road of recovery yourself. So you got a story to share too. And I know the majority of it would be about Matthew and everything, but you know, if you ever wanted to share your testimony and include whatever else in your life, I mean, we could talk and possibly set that up. I would be honored, really. It's an area I'd like to take this group into.
I mean, yeah, a lot of it would be about Matt, because like the main focus is that, because he was the one that was going through the addiction.
Yeah.
But him being an addiction and having to deal with that, it also affected other parts of life, because when he was in recovery and sober, like living and in rehabs, I was stuck taking care of everything. But then it was hard because I was in the back of my mind still focused on him. You know what I mean? Like, it affects more than just a relationship. It affects literally every stage in life.
Sure.
Because he's not here. So now you're in charge of everything. And you're so focused, like, is he okay? Is he doing this? That you almost put everything else on the back burner as well.
Yep.
And it's hard to, you know, do everything. It really is. It's hard to do everything by yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, I've heard some say, even my wife said this to me. She's like, oh, well, good for you. You're in rehab. You get to get recovery and sleep well and get 3 meals a day. Great. Like, she almost kind of early on resented me that I'm going to be like, oh, well, I'm done now. Go ahead and take care of the damage control. I'm going to go get sober, and we'll talk later. Like, it was almost like she resented my recovery in a sense. And I understood that, not immediately, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to get good luck with you, and just left it for like 39 days. You know what I mean? Like I said, just
that's
because,
exactly how it is. Like,
yeah.
like right now it's like that because he's doing, you know, meetings, he's doing all these lives, he's doing all these things. And yes, we got the other 3 kids, so it's even harder. Like
Yeah.
he's so focused on the recovery part that I'm still doing everything by myself, you know, and it's almost like I do have to take a step back and be like, look, I know he's doing this because he needs to do it. But at the same time, it's like, but we still need help here, you know? But like,
I mean,
it's hard.
how do I want to say this? I'm not saying this. If he regains himself and recovers and has all that, that's great. But that doesn't guarantee that he's not gonna like lose you in a sense of like, well, his recovery is for him, but that's not guaranteeing your serenity and your peace and your sanity and everything else. Like, hell, you might need a meeting. Why don't you do a live now and then? You know what I mean? Like, it's not just about like, oh, I'm an addict. It's about expressing what the hell you got inside. Where's your feelings start from where his feelings affected yours? Like, where's the difference there? It's time to start separating and severing that. Like, okay, here's your crap that I've been dealing with, but here's mine. And I need to respect my feelings and emotions. So, I mean, your recovery is just as vital as his. I believe it to the core. I don't lie. So my wife would back me up on that. And I'm glad me and her get to do these meetings together, you know? So some night maybe be like, you're watching the kids, I'm going to go to one of these Discovery Fellowship meetings. We'd love to have you. Because I know you got stuff to share, you know? And
I'm going to have to do that.
Matt's a very trustworthy dude from everything I've seen and heard him do, but he's going to be good. And he should encourage you to be like, look, hon, if you need to really talk to somebody and get some help, do it. Outside counseling, whatever. GBR ain't the answer. It's God is the answer for me. But fellowship, other people that have been through some stuff, you might meet some people that you hear your story through their mouth. And we just want to offer that to you. So if you'd ever like to share your testimony, I'm sure he might be a little bit nervous some night, but I'd love to set that up and do it. And if you need a female to like host to talk to you, we can make that happen as well if that makes you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Well, it's very nice to meet you finally.
I told you. I told you it's progress, not perfection. I'm not no perfect person. Y'all just heard from the horse's mouth, you know, like I'm not this perfect person. You know, I come from 24 plus years of living exactly the same way to being married for 4 years and still can't do it perfectly, you know, like, and no, I'm not okay with that. But I'm willing to change, you know, like, but it's sometimes it's like, how the fuck do I do that? I'm sorry for cursing, you know, but sometimes it's like, how do I do that? You know, how do I do that? You know, like that's where the program of action comes in. And I'm not just sitting here speaking on this. I try to do this every day, you know, and it does get better. It does, but I'm not perfect. It's progress, not perfection. I can't work on 50 million things at one time. I got to work on one thing at a time, you know?
I express that a lot, man. I always tell people, it might sound funny, but just imagine you've seen that act where like some dude takes like 6 or 7 plates and he's spinning them on all these sticks and he has to keep them all spinning and so they don't fall. And if one falls, they all fall. So, that's the thing about being in recovery. Like you don't get to just take a break and be like, I'm going to go have a couple beers. You know, it's been a long day. We can't do that. We're addicts. We're not going to have just one beer or one puff. Like it don't work that way. It's a lie from the devil. And your worst day in recovery is better than your best day in addiction. It always will. We didn't have any damn good days in addiction. There was no good times. It was just heartbreak waiting to happen. And bridges are not built on betrayal, by the way. So truth is the only way, and it takes time. It's a lot of stuff to unravel, but her recovery from your addiction is just as important as your recovery. I know you know that. I'm not preaching to you, but I'm in the business of trying to help people heal each other and make each other whole. We're a team. It's you and her as one in that house. So you both need to go to bat for each other, for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna get there one day. I'm gonna get there. Turtle.
Bro, I'm gonna get off here, man. This has been really cool. Hope James Guthrie does all right. Maybe we probably ain't gonna do that one, but next week I got Matty Ice, Matty Ice Thomas, real close to your
Man,
name,
I
and
I know
he's
who
gonna be
Matty
sharing
Ice
his
Thomas.
he's gonna be sharing his testimony, and guess what? He's Cali sober, and that does not offend me or scare me in any kind of way because I'm good. Whatever he wants to do, he can do because it's in God's timing. We ain't in the business of judging; we're in the business of healing. So if he wants to be Cali sober, he can be Cali sober. At least he ain't sitting there with a needle in his arm, losing everything, about to overdose.
Facts.
So that might be what he
Facts.
needs for right now. So with
I
all
know
due
for me,
respect,
I can't do that Cali and Maddie sober, I can't do none of that because this addict
it
right
ain't for
here,
me
I'll
either.
misuse the psychiatrist.
It ain't for me either, man. But if his life is more manageable and he's regained some stuff, then I mean, so be it. I think it's a slippery slope, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. But I'm not going to come off all judgy and be like, "Oh, you're not doing it sober." I can't do that. I don't know what God's doing in that man's life. I just know that he ain't on the verge of death every day by smoking some weed, and I digress. If that makes me whatever, then oh my God, I'll lose some sleep tonight. But that's what I'm talking about, being compassionate and bold. Like I could be like, okay, I see that's better for you, but it's not for me. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. But man, if something's going to take a needle out of your arm, go with it. That's all I can say. Fentanyl is killing people right and left. And I don't think this weed nowadays is that great either. And you can put fentanyl in anything, especially weed. But if his life has gotten better and he feels a little bit better about himself and he wants to say he's Cali sober, be Cali sober. I still think God will lead him to where he wants him to be eventually. So that's God's work, not mine. Mine's just to show up and let somebody tell their story. And we need to stop judging people. We need to stop judging people. The dude's alive, man. So that's what we celebrate. We celebrate people's lives, not the choices. Not, we don't argue with their choices we disagree with. Let's let them be alive. He might quit tomorrow. And then all of a sudden you were mad for nothing. So I just don't do none of that stuff no more. Brother, you want to pray out with me?
Yes, I'll pray out with you. You could pray us out though.
All right. I like doing it twice sometimes. Lord, thank you so much for this time. Lord, I come to you with a heart full of gratitude and in all humility. Thank you for this time with my brother, Matthew. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk with his wife, Claire. I'm sure that's his better half, Lord. Keep protecting her and guiding her and leading those kids in that house, and keep doing what you're doing with Matthew, Lord. I think he's on a really good road, and his heart and his intentions. Just keep protecting, providing, and prospering them, leading them closer to your son. Thank you for everybody that came in tonight and got to hear something, Lord, and spend some time with each other in fellowship as the church intended. And I'm just blessed to be in this position, Lord. And I ask for nothing other than you waking me up tomorrow and we do it all over again, Lord. Whatever you want done. Just please keep having your way. And please bless and be there for everybody that is watching this or watch it later on, their friends, family, Lord, the communities, our cities, our states, this world, Lord. A lot of people need protected from the ways of this world. Lead them to you. Everything else in this world's fleeting. You are eternal. Thank you for the time that you've given us. Thank you for the Holy Spirit. Thank you for speaking through me. I love you, and I give you all the glory. And I say this prayer boldly, humbly, in your Holy Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
That's an impromptu. Brother, love you. Be good. Claire, hit us
I
up.
love you too, bro.
See ya. Later on,
Claire,
everybody.
hit her up.
It's not a joke.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Love you. Stay blessed. God bless.